All right, I hope this is on. I've got some good news for you guys and some bad news. So let me give you the good news first. The good news is you never have to have another dramatic conversation, another conflict with another human being the rest of your life after the next 45 minutes. How solid is that? Everybody want some of that? All right. So here's the bad news. If you do, it's entirely your fault. That always kind of freaks people out. I throw that blame right on you on purpose. But here's what you're going to have to abandon if you want this to work. You're going to have to abandon convincing other people. You're in sales, and I'm telling you, you're going to have to abandon trying to convince anybody to buy your stuff again. You're going to have to abandon justice. You're going to have to abandon winning. I know everybody told you it wasn't about winning anyway in those cool videos that they show you before sports nowadays. You're going to have to abandon blaming other people and finding fault. You're going to have to abandon the illusion of knowing. That's where you think you know it and you just can't wait to tell everybody what they should do. You're going to have to abandon that. And you're going to have to abandon the need to be right. And if you can do all that, you'll never have to have any more drama in your life. But this is going to be hard. And I'm going to try and break it down for you. But here's the basics of it. What is drama? What is conflict? I'll outline that. How do you avoid getting into dramatic conversations in the first place? And then just in case I fail on the first two, how do you get out of it if you get in it? That's what I'm going to try to capture in 45 minutes, believe it or not, so we'll see how I do. So here's the problem. Everybody walks around pretending like they're okay. Let me just relieve some pressure. Nobody's okay, right? And I'll prove it to you right now. When you're born, you come out of the womb, Jungle Book notwithstanding, you're not going to make it without another human being, fair? How do you let the world know I'm not okay? You scream, you cry about it, right? And if for some reason you don't, the other people in the room become immediately what? Not okay, right? So what do they do to you to make themselves feel more okay? Yeah, they smack you. They spank you, well, this is really confusing, to make them more okay and to prove that you're okay. And then you start crying to prove that you're not okay and everybody feels better about it. By the time you're 5 years old, they send you off to school, right? They send you off to school and they tell you it'll be okay. Anybody ever send a kindergartner off to school, you know you don't even believe that yourself. Right? You send them off to school, you tell them it'll be okay. When they get to school, one of two things happens. Either they're feeling not okay and they start seeing other kids that are okay and they think, oh, maybe they're right, it'll be okay. Or they're feeling pretty okay because they believe their parents. Never believe your parents, by the way, right? And then they see other kids that are not okay and they start thinking, maybe it's not okay. By about age 10, something really cool happens. They start feeling okay. For the most part, most 10-year-olds are feeling okay. Who takes credit for that? The parents, right? I prepared you to be okay. By about age 15, though, these kids are so sure that they're okay that they tell their parents what? They tell them they're not okay. It's pretty funny to watch that happen. By the time they're about age 20, we're so sick of our 15-year-olds telling us how okay they are and telling us that we're not okay that we kick them out of the house. And we're also not okay with that for anybody that's done it. Right? You kick them out of the house to prove to them that they're not okay. And they go through life looking for ways to get okay again. By about age 25, they do one of two things, just like kindergarten. They find people less okay than they are that they can make okay so they'll feel okay about themselves. Or they find somebody who's more okay than they are to make them okay. By about age 30, they marry these people. Right? And at 35, holy cow, by age 35, they're having babies and they're sending them off to kindergarten again. This is all Dr. Steve Harris stuff, right? I'm okay, you're okay. But I call this the okay, not okay continuum, so I could understand it. I was just a Marine, right? I got to dumb this stuff down. Here's what happens by about age 40. Your kids are 10. You're 40. You're okay. They're okay. Grandparents are okay. Everybody's okay. What happens after everything's okay? Yeah, as soon as everything's okay in life, get ready. It's going to be not okay again. And here comes 45. Your kids are 15. They're not okay, but they think they are. You're 45, you're not okay with how okay they think they are. And the grandparents are, yeah, this is okay. They're getting their retribution finally. This is where it gets good for the grandparents. And about age 50, right? About age 50, you're kicking them out of the house and you're wondering how you're going to pay for college and you're not okay and they think they're okay. And the grandparents are thinking, holy mackerel, this is funny. Then what happens? Those grandparents start to become a little bit not okay themselves. That's trouble. They start having their ailments pop up. They're not as successful as they thought they were. You're not going to get your inheritance. Everything starts looking like it's not okay, and you're really like, okay, really? This is life. Everybody's walking through life pretending like they're okay, and you don't know what's going on in their world. The breakthrough opportunity here is to figure out how to relieve pressure. I love this. Anybody know how airplanes fly? I call this the miracle of flight. Airplanes fly because of a couple things. Momentum, right? When a bird's flying, they're actually thrusting their wings through the air with every single flap. When airplanes fly, it's a propeller pulling it through, or it's a jet engine pushing it, right? But what really makes airplanes fly is the shape of the wing, the engineering, the aerodynamics. The top of the wing is shaped like an airfoil, and it disturbs the air going over the top of the wing. So there's less pressure above the wing than below the wing, and that creates lift. That's the miracle of flight. It's not about how much wind you blow at the clients. It's not about how much energy you throw into this. It's about relieving pressure. The big breakthrough here is, how do you relieve pressure? Style by style, if you believe in DISC, personality style by personality style. How do you relieve pressure in everybody around you who's not okay? They're not okay, and if you can make them okay, you get credit for it. That's ridiculous. Dr. Steve Karpman invented the Karpman's drama triangle. When I found this through Sandler, I fell in love. I fell in love with these deep, crazy concepts of there's only 3 doors into dramatic conversations: the persecutor, the rescuer, and the victim. Holy mackerel. And then when I found out there's also 3 doors out, that you never have to have another dramatic conversation with another human being because there's a way out, I thought, this is going to be fantastic. So let me tell you why we don't think there's a way out. This is a learned behavior. Let me give you a fairy tale. Anybody remember Beauty and the Beast? Yeah, who was the original hero at the beginning of the movie in Beauty and the Beast? Gaston. Thanks, somebody remembers it, right? Who was the original victim? Poor innocent Belle walking through town with her cool books. Who was the original villain? Yeah, the Beast, right? In every great fairy tale, we have to have a victim, a villain, and a hero. That's what makes it cool. What's really cool about this particular fairy tale is that they all keep changing roles, right? Because eventually, the poor victim, Belle, winds up being kidnapped by the Beast. And the Beast turns out to be what? A victim. Well, that's kind of sad. Middle of the movie, you start feeling sorry for the Beast. But the Beast can't be a victim if he doesn't have somebody persecuting him. Who became the persecutor? Gaston, that original hero, all of a sudden now is the persecutor. Who saves the Beast? Belle, the victim. The victim becomes the hero. Wow, this is fantastic. They can change roles whenever they want. People will do this to you in life. They'll change roles. They'll start off persecuting, probably because they're feeling victimized inside. Right? And then they're looking for somebody to save them, and you come in trying to be the hero and wind up accidentally being the persecutor. Holy mackerel, this is a learned behavior. What good would a movie be if they say, well, nobody had anything wrong. I came in and didn't solve any problems, and everybody loved me for it, and nobody was mad at all. The end. Let's all come and see it. Nobody even cares about a movie with no victim, villain, and hero in it. Now they send you off to school. There's that kindergartner. When you go to school, the system is implying that you're what? You're a victim. Yeah, you don't know anything, and we're going to save you because we're teachers. Teachers will give you the knowledge that you need. Now, if the teacher fails to teach you, what do? They persecute you. They give you an F. Right? You're taught in school that drama is normal, and you got to learn to deal with it. And then you go off to your work. You guys don't realize this, or maybe you don't realize it, But every single time you walk into somebody's office with your cool products and services and you say, I can help you, you've just said what to them? You're a victim and I'm a hero. Now, if you do that wrong, you're actually persecuting them. You don't want to do that. You've got to figure out how to unwind it. How about politicians? This is the easy one. In politics, who's the hero? The politician. Who's the victim? The public, the voters, right? Who's the persecutor? The other party, right? So every party is trying to say, I'm the hero, and they're the persecutor, and you're the victim, and we're going to save you. And they're all pointing the fingers, and everybody's trying to play the roles simultaneously. Life is really one big race to see who can be the victim. That's why Dr. Cartman put the V on the bottom, because it's one big race. You see people standing around the water cooler talking about who had a worse weekend. You know, whose dog is harder to train, whose children are more rambunctious. Everybody's playing this same game. There are 4 dimensions of Cartman's drama triangle the way Tim Goring thinks about it. I try to dumb everything down, but here's how I think about it. Dimension number 1 is me. Right? I persecute myself, or I act like a victim, or I rescue myself. I do it every single morning I walk by the mirror. I think to myself, you are really fat, Timmy. So I'm playing the persecutor and the victim at the same time. And then I rescue myself by saying, not so bad from the front. Just brush that hair, cowboy, you got it. Right? So everybody's doing this to themselves. The second dimension is realizing everybody else is doing this to themselves too. Safe to say, if you're persecuting yourself and being a victim yourself, everybody else is having these same feelings, and they may or may not tell you about them. Right? The third dimension is you're all alone. Sorry about that. The second dimension is they're persecuting you, right? So the first dimension is I'm acting like a persecutor, I'm acting like a villain, I'm acting like a victim. The second dimension is they're doing it to you. The third dimension is you're in it all alone. And the fourth dimension is they're in it all alone. So now that we know the dimensions, there's all this is going on, let's figure this out. So I walk into work, and Jane yells at me, where the heck are those reports? And you think, Jane is mean. This is cruel. So I walk into the break room, though, and then Jim says to me, hey, Tim, did you hear Jane's husband filed for divorce this weekend? What changed? Now, all of a sudden, I have a little bit of awareness. Was it about me? Was it about the reports? No. And was Jane really mean, or was Jane just having a bad day? This is what happens. It's like the iceberg. 10% of the iceberg, you see what's going on. It's above the water. But below that water line, you don't know how big that iceberg is. That's where all the fear and the greed and the ego resides. It's all below that water line. So here's the problem. Along comes a problem, a challenge. And we've got some physiological response to that. The hair stands up on the back of our neck. Neuroscience joins right into the equation. And then we've got some emotion tied to that, and we have a choice about our reaction. If we choose to react to the emotions, we have a temporary solution. But what we want is a sustainable solution. We've got to address the problem or the challenge. And unfortunately, our instincts are fighting us on this. Our own instincts are fighting on this. Let's talk about our animal instincts. What do lions do when they're faced with a challenge? They fight, right? What do gazelles do when they're faced with a challenge? Run, Forrest, run, right? What do turtles do when they're faced with a challenge? They freeze. Wow. Animal instincts are trying to get in our way, not help us. So we got to think about this ahead of time. Let's say I'm walking through the forest with my best friend, and I know there are bears in this forest. I need to prepare my instincts ahead of time. What do I do if a bear jumps out? What are you going to do? Run? Some are going to run, right? I want to know what my buddy's going to do. Why do I want to know that? You don't have to be faster than the bear. You just got to be faster than the other guy running from the bear, right? So if he runs and he's slow, I'm also going to run, right? If he runs, but I know he's faster than me, I might try the freeze. If I don't know what to do, I might think about this ahead of time. Some people are going to go full Indian on this bear and try and stare it down. If that works for my friend, I might even encourage him to try that, right? That'll get me out of it. But I need to think ahead of time about, I call this the PAIR principle. I also made this up so I could remember it. First comes the physiology. It turns out in neuroscience that you tremble first and then you're afraid. First, you're going to feel in a physical reaction. That's the physiology. Then you're going to have an emotion. The more you prepare for that emotional reaction to that physical stimuli, the better, the more likely you are to do it correctly. After you're feeling that physiology and that emotion, you have a choice about your action or your reaction. And the way you act or the way you react to this emotion and this physiology is going to influence the result. So I try not to walk into a situation pretending like it's going to be okay when I know there's an opportunity for it to not be okay. Fair? So let's think about that. Let's put it in real life now. Get rid of the bear. Let's just imagine poor old Tim on his way home from work. And I know I'm late, which is a good thing, because that means the kids are done with their homework. And I don't have any of the drama. I'm just going to walk in, eat my dinner, and then have my brandy on the couch and watch a little March Madness. Everything's going to be great. And I open up the door, and the kids are going nuts in front of the TV. What am I? Persecutor, rescuer, or victim? First, I'm the victim. And then I say something stupid like, what's going on in here? Now what am I? So what have I asked them to be? I've asked them to be the victim. And they say, Mom told us it was okay, implying that she's the rescuer. And I'm like, where's Mom? Persecutor. And they say, she's in the backyard having a glass of wine with Jane. And I'm like, what? Right? I thought we were having dinner, for goodness sake. My head explodes. And then with that, she comes in from the backyard and she says, what's going on in here? What role does she think she's playing? But what role do I think she's playing? So she thinks she's being the rescuer and saving the kids from me, the persecutor. And I think she's persecuting me. And I'm like, so what's up with having a drink in the backyard with Jane? And she says, hey, well, Jane's husband just filed for divorce there, Mr. Insensitivity. Remember this? I see how I connected the stories. I get all happy about that, right? So now all of a sudden, turns out Jane was the victim and my wife was the superhero, and I'm being mean about it. So the only thing I can do now is tuck my tail between my legs and admit it and say, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that. Let me back up. Now what role am I playing? Kind of a little victim-y, a little hero, simultaneously not sure. And the kids say, hey guys, don't fight. We'll go get cleaned up. Let's make this happen. What role are they playing? They're playing rescuer all of a sudden. It's crazy how this goes on. Now I say, hey, don't worry about dinner. I'll just order up some pizza. Now what do I think I'm playing? I think I'm playing rescuer, but I don't know. She's been marinating chicken all day long, so she thinks I'm the persecutor. Oh, man, now we got a recipe for disaster if I don't harness this. Right, so I say something stupid like, no, I got this. You know, I've been working hard, but we've got enough money to handle this. Now I'm playing the martyr. And now the worst thing she could do is say, quit being the martyr, because I hate being called a martyr when I'm being a martyr, for goodness sakes. Right? And the only thing you are left with, if somebody plays the super victim, which is the martyr pretending to be a rescuer, is super rage, which is the persecutor. Right? And that's when the yelling starts. Man, how do we end this? How do we stop this? I don't have to attend every argument I'm invited to, do I? I don't. Remember I told you it's all your fault? You'd have to abandon being right. You'd have to abandon convincing them. You'd have to abandon justice is on your side. You had a bad day. Well, she was trying to explain how bad her day was. We're having a race to be the victim. It's crazy how all this is going on, but your reaction is your choice. It's entirely up to you. And the time to decide how you're going to react is not when the emotion and the physiology are working against you and influencing your animal instincts. You need to decide intellectually ahead of time how you're going to react when those same old familiar emotions of I'm not okay, wah, 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 come into your life again. Now, the problem is nobody wants to do this. Nobody wants to get rid of conflict. Hopefully, I will prove that to you in the next 3 slides. Why do persecutors not want to stop persecuting? How do they justify why they should be allowed to persecute? Power, you're so right. I'm okay and you're not okay. I'm right. I'm just trying to help you. Help can be condescending. I'll help your company grow. I'll help you double your revenues. I'll help persecute you into thinking you're a victim and I will save you. Holy mackerel. What's the payoff? Somebody said it. Power. I get to feel right. I get to feel awesome. This is how I define myself. Why would I want to stop being a persecutor? Now, my personal trigger is not persecutor. My personal trigger is hero. I would tie the kitchen sink towel around my neck and fly around the kitchen as a superhero as a kid. I joined the Marine Corps to save the world and became a search and rescue pilot to save everybody and became a trainer to help everybody do better. All right? And then somebody told me that was obnoxious, and I'm like, well, that's how I've defined my entire life. How do I justify it? How do I justify now my entire life? Well, I'm okay, and I made you okay, so I deserve special treatment. What's the payoff for me? What's the payoff for helping people? Yeah, it gives me purpose. It feels awesome. I look okay and selfless. Everybody should just admire me. All right? Let's talk about that trigger of victim, because we all know this person. Right? When I ask people to give me adjectives to describe victims, they come out one of two ways. Real, true empathy for true victims, and real, true disdain for people that are acting like victims that probably could get their act together. How do you justify being a victim? This one's hard, so I'll give it to you. I'm not okay, right? And so I deserve special treatment. And what's the payoff for the victims? I'll make you struggle for this one. What's the payoff? Yeah, you get what you want. You get somebody else to do it for you. You get your needs met. Now, let me make this really difficult. Let me tell you a true story, because everybody wants to be mad about these victims at first, but let's say I'm a veteran and I come back from the war with both of my legs shot off. Anybody going to call him a victim? Don't make me go all Marine Corps on you, right? Right? You wouldn't call that guy a victim. Matter of fact, we'll push him around in a wheelchair. We'll even pin medals on his chest and call him a hero. We'll give him all the drugs he wants, and we'll tell him it's going to be okay. But what if the victim decides, I don't want to be treated like a victim? I felt like a hero, and now I don't want to feel like a victim. We might need to assertively help him. We might need to empower him. We might need to help him learn to walk on double prosthetics. And if he learns to walk on those double prosthetics, he might even run for Congress. Anybody know my congressman, Congressman Brian Mast, United States Army? Do victims have to be victims? You can be defined by your present circumstances and your past circumstances, or you can choose to define your own future in spite of everything that's happened to you. That's empowering. But that would suck to admit that if you were a true victim. To admit that you still have a choice. As bad as it feels, you still have a choice. So let me give you a breath of fresh air. The A is attention. Focus people's attention not on what they don't want, but on what they want. And imply the want-will paradox. Okay, now that you've told me what you want, what are you willing to do to get it? My father always used to tell me, Timmy, you can't have what I have if you're not willing to do what I've done. It seemed so simple when he said it. I had no idea what he meant. Right? And what's your intention? Some people's intention is to run away from stuff. Some people's intention is to run towards it. I used to go to the gym to achieve ripped abs. Now I go to the gym to avoid being fat. Right? Everybody's got their attention. What are you trying to do? The last one is the result. We talked about this a little bit earlier. Do you want the result to be sustainable, or are you happy with the temporary result? Are you going to let your animal instincts allow you to run away from this fight, or yell louder in this fight, or freeze and become just passive or passive-aggressive? What are you going to do? It's a choice. So I made this. I call this the ACE. Everybody holds the ACE. Nobody knows they hold the ACE. Now you do. So now that you hold the ACE, you've got to make a decision about what you're going to do with it. You'll notice Cartman's drama triangle is in the middle. And that little horseshoe because the name of my company is Making Luck, and we make that luck with the Sandler system. That little horseshoe doesn't touch that Cartman's Drama Triangle because I don't go in there anymore. And if I get sucked in, I know how to get out. You get out by making choices. You can be assertive instead of aggressive. That's the A. You can choose to change your own future. That's the C. And you can empower everybody around you. That's the E. I'll go a little deeper. So instead of persecuting, you really can just stop being mean. And if people are being mean to you, you have a choice. You can go vulnerable. You can use your nurturing parent. You guys have heard this, right? You can understand they're attacking your R but not your I. If you're a Sandler client, you've heard IR theory. This is some powerful stuff. You hold the ace, and the choice is, will I play it or will I not play it? Instead of being the persecutor, you can be assertive. Instead of being the rescuer, you can nurture. The way out of being the rescuer is to set boundaries. Really, that's the upfront contract, isn't it? The upfront contract is all about don't enable everybody, empower them. You probably got some ideas. I've got some too. Hopefully they're the same. If not, no thank you is totally okay. And if I can't help you, I hope you're okay with me just saying I can't help you. Sound fair? Wow, boundaries? Boundaries are really powerful. And even if they're trying to do it to you. Again, empower the people around you. You hold the ace. You have a choice. You can play it or you can pretend like you don't hold it. Let's talk about those victims. Vulnerability is the ultimate expression of self-esteem. I loved it when I heard that the first time. Turn the other cheek. That was in a book. There was an old version. There's a newer version of it. If you haven't seen it, it's great. Great book. You should check it out. It's hard to read, but a lot of people will study it. It's fantastic. Turn the other cheek. Be vulnerable. Right? You don't have to be a victim just because somebody's persecuting you. You also don't have to be a victim because somebody else is inviting you to be the victim with them. People love to play that game. Let's race to be the victim. You can change your own future. Everybody can. And you can empower those victims that are around you with tactical empathy questions, right? With empowering questions. Well, what were you hoping I would do? Isn't that the end of the pain funnel? Have you given up? I can't help you, but I'll go on a journey with you. If you want to help yourself, I'll go with you, and I won't quit. You'll love that. You hold the ace. You can play it, or you can choose not to play it. All right, let's put it into real life. You go to the movie theater. There's an upfront contract, right? Are you allowed to talk during the movie? Now, everybody knows that. Don't they know that? Anybody ever seen this lady before? All right, she's there. Why is she there? Why would she do that? Right? Why would she talk? How do you want to react? You want to see, he just wanted to persecute. Some are going to do it passively, aggressively. Some are going to do a little of both. The old shh, the no look shh, right? It wasn't me. I'm not the persecutor. I was just trying to save all these people because I'm the victim and you're not helping. How do I empower her? Anybody know what they'll say? What will you say the next time somebody is unintentionally persecuting you? How could you empower her? How could you empower her? We do this in Sandler. We call it struggling on purpose, right? What if you said something as easy as, sounds like an important call. My date's all over me about saying something here. Anything you could do to help me out, you know? I'm struggling on purpose. I'll give her the opportunity to play the hero in this little nonsense role play that we just did. And if she jumps on it, I win. Conflict resolved. But the problem with that is everybody else doesn't know this cool strategy, right? What she says, screw you, old man. What? You ever tell a kid what to do and then they tell you that they're not going to do it, sort of like that? I call this the TV remote control paradigm. Just because you now know how to play the ace doesn't mean everybody else is going to play along. So you sit down in front of the TV, you're all nice and relaxed at the end of the day. Jane went home, the dinner got cooked, everything's happy again because you resolved that conflict. You press the channel button on your remote control and nothing happens. What do? Press harder. That's exactly what's going to happen. When you start playing the ace, they pushed your button, it didn't work, they're going to push it again. Let's say it doesn't work though. Then what do you do with that remote control? Well, yeah, you change the angle of attack. That'll work. It's got to be this. That doesn't work. Now what? Blame the kids. Find somebody whose fault it is, right? Somebody messed with this. Didn't they? Because it couldn't be you, right? What else? They try and, you're going to mess with the energy a little bit, right? Take the back off, rub the batteries around, take them out, spit on them, put them back in. Anybody going to walk all the way to the kitchen and put new batteries in? You can't do that without finding fault because the batteries did not die on you. It's impossible. They died on the last person and they decided not to do anything about it. That's just how it works, right? Let's say you get back with those new batteries and you push it. Anybody going all the way with me? What do? Help me. Yeah, you smack it around a little bit. Anybody throw it? Anybody ever throw the remote control in the history of, yeah. And then somebody will come into the room and say, calm down. Never in the history of the words calm down have the words calm down ever calmed anybody down. So give up on that idea, right? All right. So sometimes after you've been told to calm down, you might realize that you owe somebody an apology. Most people apologize all wrong. I was taught to apologize because I had an older brother, right? And my parents would drag us into the room and say, apologize to your brother. And I'd say, I'm sorry, but. What's the but do? But he was being a jerk. He's always being a jerk. He's my older brother, persecutor, making me the victim. And I'll rescue him with a basketball in the back of the head, right? Sometimes you need to apologize. So I came up with this 4F apology. This really is an upfront contract in disguise. I'll throw it up there for you so you can see it. I'm sorry for yelling at you. Specifically, this is what I'm sorry for, right? That must have made you feel like I didn't care about you. If you're not right on your guess about their feelings, now's the time to talk about it. In the future, I'm going to cage my reaction, and I'm not going to react like that. Does that sound fair? Again, if my future actions and my future reactions to my own emotions are not cool for the person I'm talking to, now's when I want to talk about it. You can elicit this from your children. Hey, man, you're late. How do you think that made me feel? You're probably mad. Well, not quite right, man. I'm not mad. Let them struggle. Empower them to come up with their own answers, to find their own pain. Well, maybe you were afraid something happened. Yeah, that's it, sport. So how are we going to handle this in the future? Maybe I should call ahead of time. Sounds fair, but dude, let's move on. I can elicit 4-part apologies the same way I want to give them if I don't want to have conflict in my life. And I don't want to have conflict in my life. Here's some other ways you can stop. As I go through this list, think of the people in your life that have done this to you. These are the 10 deadly sins of conflict. Or if you're really self-aware, think about which one you do or have done that you could stop doing today if you wanted to. Overwhelming, passive victimizing, blaming. That was one of my favorite ones. I always blame somebody else. Discounting, it's no big deal. Subject changing, guilt laying, face making. This was my favorite, sarcasm. I never was a persecutor because I have wit, so I can just say it sarcastically and then it's okay. It's not persecutorial then. I was just pointing something out to you to help you. I'm really the hero in disguise. Name calling, inappropriate. And identity attacking. We know IR theory. If you're going to correct the actions of somebody, talk about the role. And then replace their I-10. End it on a positive. Ken Blanchard. Right? There's a lot of answers here. So let me give you some takeaways on breaking through this conflict resolution. Stay outside of the drama triangle. Avoid it. Don't do those things. Don't be in the first dimension causing it yourself. Don't be in the second dimension if people invite you in. Don't be in the third dimension doing it to yourself all alone. And just acknowledge that everybody else is beating themselves up too. They're not okay, remember? Nobody's okay. Quit pretending like they are. That's the essence of okay, not okay theory. Forget about winning and convincing and finding fault and being right and the illusion of knowing. We could just keep adding to this list. all of that is working to your detriment. And the sooner you can get rid of it, the better. Forget about fixing other people. You cannot expect to fix the world. That was the hardest part when I decided that this topic was going to define my life. I spent the better part of 2016 writing a book on conflict resolution. And then Sandler graciously decided, hey, look, we're going to turn this into a book and a program. And so for the better part of 17, they've been beating me up about it, making it better and editing it, which is fantastic. But the reality is, I realized I was trying to come up with an easy way to resolve conflict in my own life, realizing I can never make conflict go away. But I had a choice about how to react to it for the rest of my life, and that was liberating. Changed my relationship with my kids, with my clients, with my partners, with my business, with my dog. It's unbelievable. I even like my cats now. Be assertive, because that's better than being aggressive. Decide that you can change your own future. Empower everybody around you. That's the essence of that upfront contract. You've probably got some ideas. I've got some too. Where do you want to go to lunch? You've probably got some ideas. I've got some too. Why don't you go first? There's the you start technique. No, I don't like to make decisions. All right, well, if you would like me to make this decision, I'll do it this time. Maybe you can commit to you making it the next time. Sound fair? What? How can I still put them first? This will drive people nuts, you empowering them all the time. They will hate it. Escape the persecutor with assertiveness and that nurturing parent that we learned about in Sandler. Escape the rescuer by setting boundaries. Really crazy important to set boundaries in life, or people will be those emotional vampires that suck that energy right out of you every single day. Escape victims with empowerment. Victims do want to be empowered. I'm convinced they really don't want to be there. Nobody's just offered them that olive branch that really gave them the way out, though. That's what they're looking for. Be assertive. Keep them out of there. And be genuinely curious. I like this genuinely curious thing because it helped me every single time I saw a persecutor. I asked myself, why? Why are they hurting? It can't possibly be as bad as they're making it. There's got to be something going on behind there. That's the iceberg. And I need to want to know that. That's where all those questioning strategies that you get in Sandler really come through. The real breakthrough here is, how do I relieve pressure? Disc style by disc style, different people feel pressure for different reasons. And they exhibit different signs. And you relieve that pressure differently. And that awareness is the answer. So just in case you didn't take notes, I had a friend of mine from high school do this graphic representation of my entire speech, which I just thought was unbelievable. I love it. If you email me, I'm happy to email it to you. It's hilarious. Everything I said is on this one page in cartoon form, because that's funny, right? And I really thought it was kind of cool that she was able to put all this on one page. And I like to look at it every now and then because of the characterizations of what's going on. So I encourage you to blow this up, every part except that picture of me. That'd be a little freaky if you blew that up. But blow it up and study it and think about it, because this concept is really simple, but crazy hard to implement. And I mean that. I stole this quote from David Sandler and I modified it a little bit. Sales is a Broadway play performed by biologists pretending to be psychologists. Right? Because this is neuroscience. This is what's fighting against you. And to give you an idea of how you can put this in play, how to really truly empower people, I'm going to give you a live exercise right now that I would like you to participate in to help me, because I'm just a poor struggling victim right now, right? And I'm thinking, I sure hope they like this, right? And I want you to rescue me. I'm going to allow you the opportunity to be the hero of this story and rescue me. And what's going to be really fun about this is we are going to accidentally, simultaneously, maybe passive-aggressively, maybe on purpose, we are going to persecute the guy next door. Okay? And the way that we're going to do this is I'm going to count to 3, and I'm going to ask you to applaud and yell and scream as if you just heard the best speech of your entire life. Because we're early, and I did that on purpose. And the end of his speech is going to be like terror. And then I'll rescue him after, I promise. Because that's how I define myself. It's my trigger. Does that sound fair? So I know this is mean, and I apologize half-heartedly, but no. Let me review, right? I'm sorry for persecuting him. I hope this doesn't make him feel too bad. In the future, I'm not going to do funny stuff like this just to get my own needs met. Does that sound fair? All right, that's the 4-part apology, so now I'm resolved, right? Go Catholicism. All right, on the count of 3. 1, 2, don't let me down. 3! Thank you. No. Thank you. That's more than I could have asked for. I really appreciate that. You are truly empowering people. That's all I got, believe it or not.